The United States has said that South Africa will not be invited. We have not seen that in writing yet. We've just heard the media publications. We are yet to receive it in writing, and we will deal with that when it comes. We are, as South Africa, a fully fledged member of the G20, and we have held a very successful G20, and this is not only being said by us, it is said by many, many other people around the world, and saying that South Africa's presidency of the G20 was a very successful G20 process, and the declaration that was adopted is also a forward-looking declaration which will help to lead to many changes around the issues that we identified. So as South Africa, we can know for ourselves as a country that we held a successful G20. What happens going forward are matters that we will deal with.
Does it give you sleepless nights, Mr. President, the conduct of the U.S. President?
No, I don't have sleepless nights. And all we want really as South Africa is to be treated as an equal sovereign country, a country that respects other countries, a country that fosters the success and prosperity of other countries. That's who we are. We wish no country ill in the world, and in fact, as a country, we don't have enemies, we just have friends. And we want to advance the friendship relationships with all countries in the world. And that is our stance, and we will never be derogatory against any country, any leader in the world. We will always treat every country with due regard and with respect and with great consideration. That's who we are, and that is very much a part of our foreign policy.
The NGC is starting on Monday, Mr. President?
Yes, the NGC is starting. I hope you will be there.
Will you be mobilizing any countries to boycott the G20 in Miami?
No, we don't need to mobilize anyone. We're not wired that way as South Africa. Every country must take its own decisions, and we are who we are, and we don't really peddle our role in any shape or form. People or countries respect us for what we are, and they applauded our role in the G20 for the manner in which we ran and managed the G20. So as South Africa, we leave every country to make up its own mind with regard to all that is happening.
Just your last comment on Tanzania. What's happening in Tanzania? Sorry to take your time, Mr. President.
Well, I've appointed former Minister of International Relations, Naledi Pandor, as my envoy. She will be going there to go and find out exactly what the challenges are, and she will come back with a report.
The South African government says it will not lobby other countries to boycott the U.S. G20 Summit after President Donald Trump decided to bar Pretoria from participating. Instead, President Cyril Ramaphosa's spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya, has said South Africa would want all the G20 members to fully participate. They aim to ensure that the declaration made at the Leaders' Summit in Johannesburg finds resonance despite Trump's misgivings. Boycotting the U.S. G20, Magwenya said, would be counterproductive, and South Africa was not keen to see an entire G20 year being wasted simply because the country was not invited. We don't want to do that. That's not for us to do. In fact, it would be unhelpful if the entire year goes to waste and the G20 is collapsed, said Magwenya. So countries must continue to participate, and they must continue to advance key developmental issues, notwithstanding the discomfort of the U.S. over those issues. So we are not going to encourage a boycott and lobby countries to boycott. He said, unlike Trump, who tried to get other countries to snub the G20 Leaders' Summit in Johannesburg, Ramaphosa does not want to engage in that unwise behavior of boycott politics. If anything, we will encourage all the members to fully participate and to utilize their rights to advance the issues that are important and that have been widely agreed on in Johannesburg, regardless of whether the U.S. is comfortable with those issues or not, said Magwenya. It's not in our DNA to embark on unconstructive or unhelpful diplomatic campaigns. Ours is for the world to remain engaged and seized with all the key issues that were surfaced and ventilated at the Johannesburg Summit, regardless of whether the U.S. is comfortable with those issues or not. That's what we would like to see other members do in our absence from that G20. Magwenya also said Ramaphosa was not expecting G20 members to publicly denounce the U.S. in support of South Africa, but would rather they register their displeasure over the decision to block it from being part of the activities in the U.S. Our expectation is not that G20 member countries must come out publicly and defend South Africa. We expect that all the members must rather register their displeasure with the U.S. in defense of multilateralism and the spirit and purpose of the G20, he said. At the very least, we expect that all the G20 members directly register their discomfort with the U.S. about this type of unilateralism in a multilateral platform. Magwenya said, South Africa is not hard-pressed about Trump's decision to block the country from participating, as they had been expecting the decision. We're not overly concerned because we are already in discussions with France with respect to carrying through the momentum of the South Africa-led G20 to the G7. We are already in discussions with the UK to ensure that a number of key issues that feature prominently in the Johannesburg Declaration are carried through to the 2027 G20, said Magwenya. We already anticipated that there would be resistance from the US with respect to accepting the Johannesburg Declaration, and so we started lobbying beyond the US G20. When President Trump announced that we would not be participating, that affirmed our anticipation. We are going to continue engaging other partners to ensure that the substance of the Joburg Declaration remains in the G20 agenda beyond the US. Magwenya said Ramaphosa was well aware that the G20 countries were having their own battles with Trump over trade tariffs, and that it would be unfair to expect them to publicly denounce him, which could further hurt those negotiations. We also appreciate that a number of countries are in a somewhat precarious position with the US. If it's not trying to negotiate a trade deal, it's trying to get U.S. cooperation, particularly with Europe seeking U.S. support and cooperation over the Ukraine peace plan, he said. And so we appreciate all those complexities. Therefore, we would not have unreasonable expectations that countries must pick up our fight. We know how to stand up for ourselves. We've been standing up for ourselves. We've been defending ourselves against misinformation out of Washington, against Israeli-peddled propaganda, and against local right-wing peddled lies. We can defend ourselves. What we have said is that countries must defend multilateralism as a principle because it's South Africa today. Who else will be next? So that's what we are expecting countries to do, and that they do it in a manner that is constructive and comfortable for them. In Washington, D.C., the presidents of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo are set to sign a peace deal, not in Africa, but in the United States. Joining them is Kenya's president, William Ruto, representing a nation that just discovered massive gold deposits. It seems like a diplomatic win, a moment of peace, but we must ask the hard questions. Why couldn't African leaders make this peace deal happen on their own? And more importantly, what is America really gaining from all of this? Because this deal might just open the door to another era of foreign exploitation. Let's start with the reality on the ground. Eastern Congo has been in crisis for decades, plagued by militias, rebel groups, and endless violence. More than 6 million people have died in the conflict since the 1990s, and through it all, there's one constant: minerals. Cobalt, gold, coltan, lithium. The resources that power your phone, your laptop, your electric car. Congo holds over 70% of the world's cobalt supply, the backbone of the future global economy. But instead of wealth, these minerals have brought suffering. Neighboring Rwanda has been accused of backing armed groups to control these resources, leading to flared tensions and continued bleeding in the region. Now, here's the twist. Instead of solving the conflict through African institutions, Congo and Rwanda are flying to Washington to sign a peace deal hosted by Donald Trump. Why? Is this really about peace, or is it about control? Because when Donald Trump steps in, along with U.S. diplomats and corporate investors, something very valuable is on the table. And that something is buried deep beneath African soil. Let's be honest, this isn't just about ending conflict. This is about critical minerals. America wants access to the resources that power the future: electric vehicles, AI, renewable energy. And Congo, along with newly mineral-rich Kenya, holds the key. That's why President William Ruto is in Washington too, Just months after Kenya confirmed the discovery of billions in gold, he's now sitting in meetings that could determine who gets access and under what terms. And guess who's not at the table? You, Africa. The African people, once again left out of deals made in foreign capitals for foreign profit. This is the painful part. Why didn't Africa broker this peace deal? Why did it take Washington to bring Congo and Rwanda together? Where was the African Union? Where was ECOWAS? SADC? Where were the African-led solutions? We have the institutions, we have the capacity, but we still lack unity. We still rely on foreign powers to fix our own problems. It's the same story, again and again. Africa looks outward instead of looking inward for strength. So what does America get from all this? Simple: influence, access, and control. By brokering the peace, they gain political leverage. By hosting the deal, they gain moral high ground. By investing in mining and infrastructure, they gain ownership of Africa's future wealth. Because when Western companies enter these agreements, they don't come to share, they come to extract. And history tells us what follows: foreign ownership of African mines, local communities displaced, environmental destruction, and profits flowing out, not in. This isn't new. This is how colonialism worked. This is how neo-colonialism continues to work. Africa is rich, but Africans remain poor. Why? Because every time there's a discovery, or a peace deal, or an opportunity, the people with the power aren't African. And that has to change. We are not helpless. Africa has the people, the leaders, the minds, the vision. But we need something stronger than mineral contracts. We need unity. Real Pan-African leadership, the kind that refuses to bow to Western interests. The kind that says our resources are ours and no one else's. Imagine if Congo, Rwanda, and Kenya sat down in Nairobi or Addis Ababa or Accra and signed their own peace deal. Imagine if African-led banks financed the infrastructure, if African engineers mined the resources, if the African people controlled the profits. That's not a fantasy, that's a vision, and it's possible if we choose it. Let's be clear, this deal, signed in Washington, is not for Africa. It's for those who see our minerals as their opportunity. It's for those who use peace as a path to profit. We're not saying reject peace, we're saying own it. Let it. Control it. Africa cannot afford to keep selling its future for the illusion of stability. Because every handshake that sells our minerals is another chain added to our people. So ask yourself, will this peace bring freedom? Or will it bring foreign flags flying over African soil once again?
Thank you, Africa. Mama Africa. Oh, yeah. You make African great. Thank you, freedom. Thank you, Africa.
Well, we are South Africa, the interim chairperson of SADC. We've been given this responsibility after Madagascar asked to be relieved of that role because of the challenges that they had, challenges that SADC is dealing with to restore democracy in Madagascar after their president stepped down and left the country. We also have challenges in other countries in the region, challenges which SADC is dealing with. It's fully seized with those issues, and the SADC region has been a relatively peaceful area, save for what's happening in the DRC and what's been happening in the northern part of Mozambique. But SADC itself has been involved, has been trying to find solutions, and we will continue to find solutions because we engage. We ensure that the institution of SADC does get to impose its own values, its own traditions in the solution of problems.